If you're struggling to find the right people, it's because we've never defined the right people. If you don't know what you really want, how are you going to attract who you really want? When it comes to a service business, your people are your product. If you can't trust people and you're attracting people who aren't trustworthy, there's a real good chance that you're not a trustworthy employer.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Welcome back to the Better Than Rich Show. I am your host today, Mike Abramowitz, and I have the author of Hire Better People Faster, Ryan Englin. Welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, excited to talk to you again, Mike.
I'm looking forward to flipping the script. I want to start with tactical, and then we'll get into your story. And of course, I want to make sure people understand the human side of you, but tactical first. Inside the book, page 1, there's this little diagram, and in the center of the diagram is the word core for core vision and core story. And then around the diagram are these phases. We've talked about these phases on the show. We just call them something a little slightly different. Attract phase, the hire phase, and the retain phase. Those 3 phases, and inside those phases, there's find, automate, interview, onboard, engage, and assess. I love the simplicity. I want to spend some time in the core, the find, and the automate, because I feel like top of funnel is what most of this audience really needs help with.
I want to share some things that aren't in the book that are really going to drive this home. But if I get to start, we're going to start at core. As you were describing it, for those of you that can't see it, core is right in the middle. It's the hub. It is the foundation. It is the part of your business that makes all other things tick. And when you look at the model, you'll see that it's got teeth into all the other components that Mike was talking about. It's so important, especially in the trades, because we forget this. We think that people come to the trades because they want to work with their hands, because they want to build something cool. And we stop there. We forget that we hire a human being who has hopes, dreams, goals, drama, poor life choices, all these other things. And we expect them to leave that stuff at the door. And the reality is, if you own a company right now, your company has hopes, goals, dreams, drama, communication issues, all those other things. And we think that we want to shield everybody from that stuff. We don't want them to know that we don't really communicate well or that we don't care about them. We don't want to put that out there. Core is getting really clear on who you are as an organization, what you believe, where you're going, how you behave, why you do what you do. And it's getting really clear on who's the right people to join your team. If you're struggling to find the right people, it's because we've never defined the right people. We keep saying no one wants to work, there's no one good out there. But when I ask leaders what makes a good employee, they struggle. They've never sat down and said, this is what I really want. If you don't know what you really want, how are you going to attract who you really want? If we don't know who the right people are, if we don't know how we can best serve them, all the rest of the stuff is just an exercise in futility. It's just doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So core is about getting really clear on your purpose, which is why you do what you do, your vision, which is where you're going as an organization and why people should care, and your values, which is how you behave. You've got to have those things figured out before you can spend any time figuring out who the right people are.
If a business is listening to this, is there a shortcut using AI that you have found that can help them with their core, the core values, the mission statements, the vision, or is it assumed that you probably already have this?
I would say the majority of contractors probably don't have this. And the thing I struggle with AI is, remember, AI has been trained on what's publicly available. And what I found is most of the time what's publicly available comes from large organizations, much larger than probably the listeners here. And they never spent the time to do it right. You see, when it comes to values in particular, there's a bunch of different types of values, but one of them is permission to play, which is table stakes. We say we're honest and trustworthy and teamwork are values. Well, I would never want to do business with a company that's not honest. I would never want to hire a dishonest employee. Like, that's table stakes. So we can't really say honesty is a value. Values need to be verbs. And if you can go into AI and say, I want you to help me develop values that are actions, behaviors, I can see them at work, it may be able to help you. One thing I know about AI is always going to want to get there as fast as possible. So sometimes you're going to have to challenge it back and just say, let's dig a little deeper here. For example, purpose, which is why we do what we do. I watched my dad just grind it out into his 70s. And I don't want that for any other owner operator out there. And that's a big reason why I do what I do. ChatGPT is not going to help me get emotional about that. It's just not. I got to push back and make sure it digs deep.
One immediate curiosity comes up is how might someone listening to the show try to reflect back or remember why they are doing what they're doing? What is an exercise that they could go through? Because right now the guy's driving and he might be listening to this and he's just like, I started this business because I wanted to make money, right? And then grew into something bigger than I anticipated. And now I'm just stuck stuck in the day to day. And why did I do this? Why did I start this business? Is there a simple way to answer that question?
What I've seen and what I've learned is that no matter what business you're in, there's an easier way to make money than the business you're in. So why this business? Why did you go into HVAC? Why did you go into construction? Why did you pick this business? Of all the businesses you could have picked, why? And then a lot of times what I hear is, well, that's what my dad did. Or my friends told me after high school, come do this. And I saw it and I was like, oh, I can do this. But why this? Like, there's a reason you didn't say no. What's the reason you didn't say no? What's the reason that you get out of bed every single morning, even on the days when you don't want to get out of bed and go to work to do this? Because I talk to contractors a lot of times. Some of them, they would make more money if they just shut the business down and went and worked for someone else. But they keep pushing, they keep grinding because there's something about what they're doing that matters to them.
Could it be an opposite where it's like they're running away from something? I'm a big Tony Robbins guy. It's like the pursuit of pleasure or the avoidance of pain is the two motives. Could it be the opposite, which is I'm doing what I'm doing because I want to avoid blank trap?
If they're in a place where their business is bringing them pleasure, then just keep doing that. Like, I think it's less likely that they're going to need to worry about these principles. If they're in a place where it's providing the lifestyle they want, they're happy with it, everything else to avoid, I wouldn't worry about that as much. But the majority of people that I talk to aren't in that position. Most of them wake up every morning going, why am I doing this? And they're dreading it and they're hating it. They're having problems at home with their wife and their kids. You know, they got money problems. They're stressed. They don't sleep well at night. Maybe they got health issues because it's just consuming them. That's the majority of contractors that I run into. And for them, we need to get back to what is the excitement? What is the pleasure they're pursuing? What is the purpose? Why are they so driven to do this? We've got one client right now. He goes, well, it's all I know. And I'm like, what does that mean? He goes, I did it right out of school. I've done it for my entire life. It's just all I know. And so when I had a chance to start my business or actually buy it from dad, I did. Okay, but why? Why? And what it was for him was he really loved creating a vehicle that he could invest in and develop other people. And for construction, that totally makes sense. We build projects, we build people. And for him, his purpose was rooted in the fact that I needed a vehicle where I could control how I invested, gave people second chances, poured into them, mentored them. And this was the vehicle for him to do that. Just changed his thinking. It's like, yeah, I still build cool stuff, but I'm building amazing people. And that was what really drove him.
Yeah, you read my mind. I was going to ask you for a couple of examples or case studies or what you've seen from people, because the guy listening to this might be like, yeah, that sounds good. I want that. I need to get anchored to my why. But
Yeah.
I really am so stuck. I can't even think. Can you rapid fire a few other things that maybe you've heard from other contractors or guys like that you can share?
When it comes to purpose, we really break it down into a few different things. Sometimes it's just lifestyle. Some people want a lifestyle business. Like, that's cool. Other ones are community. Like, there's a group of people or an organization or something where they just want to see it thrive and they want to be a part of it. For some people, they want to create legacy. They just want to make an impact. When we sit down with organizations and we figure this out, we're looking at what is it that they really want to accomplish? What do they want to be known for? We've got some, and they just want to dominate the industry. They've got such a great company and such a great organization. They just care so much about the people. They want to be at the top of the industry so people are lining up to come work there so that they can further invest and pour in them. You know, the thing is about construction, so many of them have a very similar purpose, which is just, I love people. It's so interesting because they build stuff, but they just love people. And so, you know, for them, safety isn't something you check off. There's so much more to safety than just making sure somebody doesn't get hurt on the job site. They love that. For some people, they do want to create a legacy. They want to have a business that they can give to their kids, and they're building a business the smart way. One of the things that I look at with purpose is what gives the work meaning to you? Why is the work meaningful? There's a million ways to make money in this world. Why'd you pick this one? And whether that's the community, whether that's a legacy, whether that's you have a cause. We have one client, for him, human flourishing across the world is important to him. It's a big part of his faith, human flourishing. And so he takes a big percentage of his profits every single month and pours it into other organizations that are focused on helping human beings flourish, whether that's local or abroad. That's what drives him every morning. And he just happens to be really good at the remodeling work that he does. He could do it in his sleep, and it's spectacular work. But he says, this is the vehicle by which I make the money to support human flourishing around the world.
Now that we're anchored to this vision purpose piece, Ryan, I want to ask a tactical piece of this. Let's bring it client facing for a moment. and a client says, you know what, we got 4 other estimates and we're going to make a decision by the end of today, but why choose you? What makes you different from any of the other contractors that are quoting us right now? And let's say this guy looks him at the eyes and says, we're going to provide you a great customer experience. So if that's the case, how do we create a differentiator? What are the tactical pieces that this business, this contractor might be able to like take customer service to a deeper level so it's not so vanilla? What would you say to that?
Think about this human flourishing example. Every single person in the organization knows that that's why this company exists. Every single person that works there is bought into that ideal of helping human beings flourish. And so they do whatever it takes to make sure that the jobs are profitable, that they're done well, that the customers are happy. Like it starts with that team that's bought into this purpose. When they go into a consumer's home and they start this remodeling project, they're doing it with that heart condition in mind. And when it comes to things like doing it right the first time, they don't even think about there being a callback or an option to come back because they took shortcuts, because that's not how you help human beings flourish. The other thing is that over time, as this word gets out that this is your purpose, your customers will start showing up because they want to support your cause. You know, one that I see all the time is, you know, companies that give a percentage to animal shelters, right? If you're an animal lover and you get to pick between the two, one supports animal shelters and one doesn't, most people are going to say, hey, I'm an animal lover. I got 3 rescues to support the one. And so you'll actually start aligning your customers around this as well.
The differentiator, if I heard you, the culture itself on how you're bringing in your talent, how you're raising your technicians and your talent, that is the way that they're going to show up and how they're going to treat the clients, the end user, the homeowner. So if they say our customer service is superb, well, how are we different than others? It's because of our culture. It's because of the way we train our team, because everyone's going to provide you the same experience. If I heard that right.
When it comes to a service business, your people are your product. If your people aren't aligned around what you need them aligned around, you're going to send people out that are like, I don't really care. I'm not really into this. I'm just here to make a paycheck. And that's not the right people. That's not the people that anybody I talk to ever wants.
You just opened up the can, man. Let's dive in. So I can't trust people to be the representative of my company the way I do it.
If you can't trust people and you're attracting people who aren't trustworthy, there's a real good chance that you're not a trustworthy employer. I want your listeners to sit with that for a second. If you're pulling all the wrong people, it's probably because you're not attractive to the right people. You're attractive to the wrong ones. And that's an important distinction in the work that we do, because so often they're like, nobody wants to work. Everybody's entitled. Everybody's lazy. And then we say, okay, well, let's look at the way you run your jobs. You can't stand your customers. You never really listen to them. You want to get in and get out as fast as possible, as cheaply as possible. Well, guess who you're going to attract? People that want to do jobs and work like that. So when it comes to trust, which is a big one, in fact, one of the things that's not in the book is our choice framework, which has been developed in the last year. See, I believe that when you're the employer that people choose to work for and the employer that people choose to stay at, you can dominate any market. But if you're not the employer that they choose, you're going to deal with this constant churn of people, with low performers, with people who don't care, with people you can't trust. You have to become that desirable employer for the top talent if you want the top talent to show up and stay. And one of the components of the choice framework is a high trust leadership team. Can I, as an employee, trust that when I come to you and say I need help, you're not just going to rip it out of my hands and say, let me do it myself? Because if you're that kind of employer, guess what you're telling me? I don't value your opinion. I don't value your skills. I don't value you. I'm just going to do it myself, which makes me feel like I can't do what you're paying me to do. I'm going to move on, especially if I know that I'm capable of doing it.
All right. We're going to stay here for just a moment. Page 53 in the book. For a listener, there's a whole chapter on finding talent, right? There's a 360 marketing plan. There's a lot of really great resources in there. I want you to answer to this one. Speak to this monkey brain. Ryan, this all sounds good, man. I want to hire better people faster. I want to attract these better people. I got 6 jobs in queue. I need to find someone ASAP.
See, your business didn't start to struggle overnight. It's not going to get fixed overnight. So if someone comes to me and says, hey, you know what, Ryan? I just need someone right now. My first question to them is, how fast and how willing are you to change what you're doing? Because guess what? If I'm a top performer, if I'm a rock star employee, do you really think I want to come into a company that's full of fires burning because it's mismanaged or it's run poorly? Hell no. I don't want to do that. I want to come to a place where I feel like they've got processes, they've got customers that love them, they've got their act together. I don't want to come into a whirlwind, and I'm definitely not going to stay if that's the case. So my question to that person is, hey, are you willing to do the work to fix this? And when they say yes, I say, great. Are you willing to call those customers and say, hey, we're going through some stuff right now. We're working on putting together the right team for you. We got to push your project back 6 weeks. Are you willing to risk losing some of those jobs that you should have never taken anyways because you knew you didn't have the people? Are you willing to risk some of those to the competitors to fix this so you never have to be in that situation again?
That is some hard truth there, brother. It's a relevant question. I'm going to turn down money today for the possibility of having a predictable business that maybe works, and maybe I have good people, and maybe I could replace those 6 jobs with 60 jobs in the future. And, ooh, that's risky, but it's also risky to not. And do you think there is a world where it's like, all right, I'll put a Band-Aid approach for these jobs. I'll just get these 6. I'll grind through these 6 that I have in queue right now. And then once these are done, then in a slow season, I'll figure out this hiring thing.
You know, maybe people have told me they're going to wait till the slow season to get started. And then I call them in the slow season. They're like, oh, we didn't have the cash we thought we would have. We lost this key person. Now the slow season's busy because I have even less people and I've got empty trucks. And I'm like, there is never a right time. Like, there's never a time when you're going to be ready for this. But you know what? You did ask me for some tactics. So here's a tactic for this. If you need someone right now, today, you're going to have to poach them. It's that simple. You're going to have to take them from a competitor because nobody wants the unemployed guy right now, right? Like, nobody wants him. You're going to have to take them. And if you're not comfortable with that, go back 5 minutes and listen to what I said before. But if you are, here's the fastest way to get a new employee. Look at your existing team. Take your top performers. Remember, top performers hang out with top performers. Low performers usually socialize with low performers. So decide who you would love to get a referral from. Take that person to lunch and brainstorm with them for 90 minutes. All the people they know in the industry, all the things that they may have heard or seen or talked to friends about that might give you an opportunity to get someone else in. And then don't be shy when it comes to rewarding that person. Don't be shy when it comes to incentivizing the new person to come over. It's going to cost you some money. It's going to cost you some time. But if you need someone right now, that is the fastest way to get a new employee on your team.
And if we had to role play that conversation, just I'll be the top performer. You're the owner. You take me out for lunch. Let's role play that. Like, obviously not going to role play the full 90 minutes, but like just the meat of it. So it's like, you know, hey, Ryan, thanks for lunch, man. Always love getting time with you. What's on your mind?
Yeah. Hey, you've heard the phrase before, Mike, there's no such thing as a free lunch, right? Like, I need your help. You're going to have to be vulnerable in this situation. I need your help. You know how we've gotten too many jobs on the books? We got jobs we can't even get to. You know, you're working a ton of overtime. You're not able to go home to Susie and play with her. Like, you're missing out time with your kids, right?
Yep.
We've talked about that. Well, I'm committed to solving it, but I need your help, man.
Yeah. What do you need? Tell me.
We need 2 more techs and we need them yesterday. I want to spend the next 90 minutes brainstorming with you who we can talk to, how we can get in front of them, what we need to do to incentivize them. Guys that you might even call friends. Like, how cool would that be? You get to work with some new friends. Like, how can we get those guys to come over here?
So what do you want me to do? You want me to send you some text messages, or you want me to call them right now, or what do you want?
I don't know. I mean, do you know people right now? Like, do you have names, numbers? Like, you're ready to go?
I got a couple guys in mind.
I'll write down their names, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So let's go down the list. Why do you think this guy wants to leave where he's at? Like, you just go through the list.
So I don't know if they necessarily want to leave where they're at, but they're always looking for more money. That's always a motivating factor.
Yeah. Do you think that they would leave if we offered them $1 or $2 more than they're making now?
That'd be up to them. I don't know. Maybe if there was a sign-on bonus or something.
Yeah. So at this point, I mean, if you want, we can start smiling and dialing and calling friends, right? Or we can sit down and we can put together a list. But I'm saying if you're that desperate that you need to hire someone right now, it's going to cost you something.
I love that, Ryan. And if we had to continue that role play for just a moment, what would you say to the guy on the phone? So I call my buddy Joe. I say, hey, Joe, I'm here with my boss, Ryan. He's looking for a couple of texts. He just wanted to talk to you real quick. Hold on. And then I pass you the phone.
Before we start dialing, I'm going to say, hey, Mike, what's the biggest reason you stay here? What is it about working here that you love to brag to your friends about? Now, if you say nothing, we're going to have a different conversation at this point, right?
Oh, the culture, the way you treat me. I love the way we provide customer service. It's quality. It's consistent, you know.
So you're going to say that to your friend before you hand me the phone.
Listener, I hope you caught that. Say that one more time, Ryan, just in case they missed.
You're going to explain to me why it is that you enjoy working here. Why is it that you stay? What is it that you brag to your friends and family about working here? And when your friend picks up the phone and you say, hey, man, how's it going? hey, I'm sitting here having lunch with my boss. We need to hire some techs. But before I hand them over to you, I want to tell you just a couple reasons why I love working here.
That's beautiful. Okay. So then I just prepped Joe, my buddy.
Yep.
Hey, I love working here because of blank, blank, blank. Here's the phone. I pass the phone to you. Ryan, you're the boss. You're on the phone with Joe. What are you saying? What?
I'm asking questions. I'm listening is what I'm doing. It's like
let's
an
go-
interview.
let's role play. Hey, I'm Joe. What's going on, Ryan?
Hey, Joe, I'm sitting here talking to Mike. He told you that we've got a great company over here. We got building a great team, but man, we're short a couple of techs. We got more work coming in than we know what to do with. And I asked him if he knew anybody that he really liked that he'd vouch for, and your name's top of the list. I mean, you're the first call we made. I'd love to know, how are things at your current employer?
They're good. I've been here for a little bit.
Yeah. Anything they could do better?
They pay me more.
You know what? And that's something that I'm willing to do. If you and I could work out a compensation arrangement that would make you some more money, would that be worth a conversation to you?
Yeah, sure. I'm always down for a combo.
So at this point, what I would do, and you might have to do a little bit of prep, figure out what questions you're going to ask around compensation, how much you work, how much you making, what does your incentive comp look like, what's your schedule look like. I'd probably ask you some technical questions and be like, you know what? I can put you on it. You want an extra job, 2 extra jobs a week? I can put you on 2 extra jobs a week. You want to move to commission? I'll work with you move into commission. You want to make $2 more an hour? I can make that happen if you think it's the right fit. If we could come up with something, Joe, how fast could you make a move?
Yeah, I mean, probably by the end of the week. Now, do you want me to leave my job high and dry, or do you want me to give a notice, or do you want me to try to do both at the same time?
You know what? I don't want you to do anything wrong by your employer. I want you to at least give some notice. Now, if he doesn't keep you, you call me early, right? If he shows you the door, you call me and say, hey, man, I'm free early, but I want you to do him right. Give him some notice. 2 weeks is standard. Talk to him and just say, hey, man, I got to go somewhere else. What do you want me to do? And at this point, out of role play, when I sit down and make you the offer, one of the things I actually encourage everybody to do in an offer is encourage the quitting conversation. Role play that. Role play the quitting conversation. Because you know what's going to happen, and we're out of role play, is Joe's going to go to his boss and say, hey, man, I'm making more money somewhere else. He's like, I'll give you $5 more an hour to stay. Well, since that was Joe's motivation, I risk Joe getting a huge raise there and not having to make a change. So when we make the offer, we actually want to role play that conversation and find out what is the reasons that more money is important to him. Because his boss isn't going to care. His boss is just going to throw more money at him. But if I know why the more money is important, which might be, I can start saving for my kids' college, I can get out of debt. What is the reason more money is important? Money's a means to an end. Well, I want to be able to tug on those heartstrings when I make that offer, and I role play that conversation for him.
This is really great. But before we take a pivot into a different direction, Ryan, anything else under this conversation of recruiting someone to the team fast? We have never had this type of role play on the show, so this is really helpful.
We've got somebody now, and if you go back to the model, interview is under hire. So now we're having hiring conversations. We're not just recruiting. We're not just attracting. We've attracted the guy. So in this case, I'm not expecting you to have an interview at lunch, when you're sitting across from your employee. Like, hey, man, that's good. Let's schedule a time. Now, here's the thing. You own a company that's struggling right now. You're probably used to working crazy hours already. Stop scheduling interviews with people who are employed during business hours, because Joe has a full-time job and he might not get off till 6 o'clock. So schedule a 7 o'clock interview with him at night. Hey, stop going, hey, can you take a long lunch tomorrow? No, Joe's not ready to show his cards to his boss. Schedule a time after hours, schedule time on the weekend, schedule a conversation with Joe where you're actually going to interview him. Have a conversation, because you know what? All right now he sees his dollar signs. He might get to know you and go, I ain't working here. Like, let's be a little real. So Joe shows up for the interview. Let's talk interview stuff. Mike, what do you think? Share with me. You talk to people all the time. What are they looking for when they're looking to hire someone new? What makes a good employee? What do you think these owners are looking for? What is a good employee to them?
Good employee to them, someone who's reliable, dependable, shows up on time, someone who's not going to steal, who's going to be honest, who can do quality work, someone who could follow through on guidelines that are provided to them, or SOPs, doing it our way.
Except for quality work, everything you said is behavior-based. Everything you said is a behavior. So why is it that we're having conversations about how to replace run caps or how to run new wire? Or why are we having conversations about the job when everything that you mentioned, which I agree with you, by the way, is behavior-based? We need to shift to behavior-based interviews, not just having technical interviews. Does that make sense?
Makes a ton of sense.
Shows up on time. What's the easiest way to test somebody showing up on time?
What we used to do in my business is we'll meet you at 7:13 p.m. right? The 7:13, I have a call right before and right after that. So like give such a specific time. That's one way. Or you could do like on the 15 or whatever.
In our organization, we have this belief that early is on time and on time is late. And you share this with them when you're scheduling the interview and you just say, hey, I just want to let you know, to us, on time is usually 10 minutes before we need to start. So guess what question number 1 is on the interview guide? Did they show up 10 minutes before the scheduled time? Because we're going to schedule for 7 o'clock and he better walk in the door at 6:50. And if he doesn't, he didn't pass that first one. Like, I'm not even going to ask him, do you show up on time? What's he going to say? Yes. So that's the first thing. And then you talked about things like quality. You talked about things like customer service. You talked about things like caring to do it our way. So here's one interview. Hey, I want to give you an SOP. I want to show you how we replace a run cap, how we operate this equipment. Here's our SOP for doing that. Sit down and say, Joe, take a second and read that. Tell me what you disagree with and just shut up and let Joe talk.
So is that assumption, Ryan, that anybody listening to this has a documentation of how they want each of the types of jobs done?
Well, I mean, one of the things you said is they do it our way.
Correct. And that's very important. So here's the thing. The owner listening to this says, I want it done my way. I have an expectation of what right is in my head, but it's not really communicated explicitly to the next person. But they might have a version of that where it's like, I don't have a documentation of what our way looks like. I just know I want it done my way.
And I see this all the time. When we don't communicate it to them and we say, just go get it done. And when they come back and they didn't do it our way, but we never spent the time to teach them to do it our way, or we don't have it documented, whose fault is that? We can't really be mad at them for it. If you don't have everything documented, maybe you just document. Go spend the time, write down what our way is. And the whole purpose of this is for the interview. Another way to do this, if you want, I don't recommend this as much, but you're in a hurry, right? Like you needed a guy yesterday. You don't have time to create this SOP. Is sit down and say, hey, Joe, one of the things that we do is we operate this type of equipment. Can you walk me through step by step what you use that equipment for? How do you know you used it right? And how you know you did a good job with it? Just talk to me about it. Maybe that's as far as you go. And then when he says things, you're like, whoa, 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 whoa. We don't do it that way here. Now you get to have a conversation about it. Well, hey, Joe, we don't use the equipment that way here. We use it like this because this is what we believe about that kind of service work. You have a conversation. And if you two can't get on the same page, he's probably not the right guy for you.
That's a great little nuanced pivot there where if like you're not in a place to get all of your stuff documented, could you document one? And then if you are not in a place where you could document one and create a use case and ask how the applicant would handle that use case and let him explain it to you. And then you could just kind of pick it apart and say, that was really good. And this is actually how we would do it here. This is how we would do it differently. And then you have a conversation about, are you open to making some of those changes? And then see how stubborn or adaptable that person could be. I love that.
Another thing you want to do when you're in the interview process is we break things apart. When they respond or they behave in a certain way, we either put a red flag next to it or a yellow flag next to it. Red flags are things where you're like, oh, I can't hire this person. Not only did they show up 10 minutes late for the interview, but they were in board shorts and flip-flops. They weren't even here professional. Or their phone was just going off like crazy during the interview and they kept pulling it up to find out what's going on. Like, oh, I'm having drama at home. It's like red flag, right? Like we've got to deal with that in the interview. Now, it could just be that their life sucks today, right? You better have a conversation about that before you make them any offers. Like, is this normal for you? Or is this just the exception, just timing sucks? But then there's things like yellow flags. Yellow flags aren't deal breakers, but you stack enough of them up and it becomes a problem. A lot of times yellow flags might be something where, hey, you know what? This guy's rushing a little bit. He's getting a little sloppy on this thing that I asked him to do during the interview. Or heck, maybe we're doing a ride along and the guy's just on his phone the whole time. Like he's not having a conversation with me. Or, you know what? I introduced him to some team members and he didn't make eye contact with them. He was kind of like shifty eyed and stuff. And it just made them feel uncomfortable. So guess what? He's probably going to make our customers feel uncomfortable. Those are yellow flags. They're not necessarily cause for ending the interview, but we better address them before we hire them. So you're keeping notes of all the biases, all those things in your gut that are saying, oh, I'm not quite sure this is the right guy. And you're going to address them during that offer meeting.
So good. Rich with information, rich with value. This is really, really great stuff, Ryan. Before I take a hard pivot away from this topic, is there anything else under the attractor hire part of this conversation that we did not talk about?
Yeah, just because your business is on fire right now, you got these 6 jobs you can't get to, you're short-staffed, does not mean you take your new employee and you throw them into the fire. You want this person to stick around. You've got to ease them into the fire. You got to warm them up gradually to some of the chaos and disaster that is your business. So when it comes to onboarding that person, make sure that when they show up on day one, it's not just, here's your truck, here's your keys, here's your jobs today, go get to work. Because that will chase away somebody faster than anything else. I can't tell you the number of people that we've heard during an exit interview that said, I didn't feel like I was part of the team. We had one person, they quit 6 months later because they didn't get an office tour. And that set the first day tone for them. We got to take time those first few days and build that trust, develop those relationships, show them around, show them the insides and outs of the business.
I speak to this. I'm paying this person to build a relationship with them, and I'm not making any money with them doing the jobs or turning the wrenches. Come on, and let's be real. I need to put them to work.
Sure.
I can't be spending all this time. So
yeah, well, I mean, the question I'm going to ask that person is, do you want to do it over? Because for some reason, we always find the time to do it over, but we can never find the time to do it right. I see that so often. They're like, oh, I don't have time. I just got to throw them in the truck. And then 6 weeks later, you got to do it again. And then you're at a point where you're like, now I got to turn away jobs because I don't have enough people because I can't keep them. We don't have a labor shortage in the trades. We do have a labor crisis, but it's not caused because people don't want to do this job. It's caused because we can't keep people because they don't want to work for you. And we have an entire industry that has not shifted with the times and said, we need to change the way we do things. And if that industry would change the way they did things, we wouldn't have a labor crisis. And for those people listening to me right now going, oh, no, we don't have a retention problem. We just can't find good people. Call your CPA and say, how many W-2s did I issue last year? Call your payroll person and say, how many people do we have payroll at the end of the year? And I can promise you, you issued way more W-2s than you had people on payroll. That's a retention problem. And the reason we have a retention problem is because we don't slow down, assimilate people into our organization, into our culture, take a few days, paying them to build a relationship with them. That's what people need. That's what people want. Every study out there will say that's what's missing in today's organizations. So if you want to solve that problem, take a week, pay them. Don't put them on jobs. They'll be with you for 2 years instead of 2 weeks. It's worth it.
was it you that had the conversation with me about the union, and that's where these guys used to recruit talent from? And in 20, 30 years from now, that's not going to be a thing. So that's why they need to change it.
No, but I do have a thought on that. Historically, the unions have trained the next generation. And the unions are struggling to be able to do that. They don't have the capacity. They don't have the funding. They don't have all this to train these new apprentices. So they're bringing guys in, but they're not bringing them in as fast as the industry needs. What we need to do is we need to see the private sector start saying, it's time we start training these new guys. I truly believe that. If we don't, next generation, there's going to be no one to train.
If there was a way to play a part in that, how would somebody make a difference for the trades in general or for their business if there is this labor crisis? And we know that there's a lot of autonomy that the owner has. And we also know that there was a dependency in the past. So we got to adapt. What does that look like?
Yeah. I mean, there are people out there that are doing it. There's a guy I talked to who runs Hi-Fi Plumbing. He's got an apprenticeship program. He started a decade ago. And every year he turns out 3 licensed techs. That's what he needs to grow his business is 3 new licensed techs. If you think about what a licensed plumber is worth, 50 grand a month in a truck, he's adding 1.8 million to his top line every single year because he's growing his own technicians. Now, he's like planting a tree, right? He had to start it a long time ago to get there, but we can start it today. The problem is we have a lot of people who grew up in the trades that own these companies. A lot of people grew up in the business that they own, and they have a very certain way of thinking about it. They've never been able to take a step back and say, could we break it apart? Could we do things differently? There's a company out in California, and part of their apprenticeship program is we're going to spend 6 weeks in a classroom doing ride-alongs and getting these guys trained on drains. That's all these guys do for a year is drains. And they get really good at drains. But guess what they're doing while they're learning drains? They're seeing a lot of other plumbing issues. They're seeing a lot of other plumbing projects. They're learning by watching these guys. And they just sat down and they just built this program. And now, a couple years in, they're able to get these guys the credentials that they need, able to help them get licensed, everything else. They're growing the next generation. Now, you don't have to do anything crazy like go get a fully accredited apprenticeship program and go get grant money and go get the GI Bill stuff. Like, you don't have to do all that. And I think that's one of the reasons when we say apprentice, people think, oh, the unions do that, or I've got to go through all this red tape, all this government approval. That's not what I'm saying. Develop a training program that takes someone who has the qualities that you mentioned earlier, Mike. You know, they show up on time. They take care of the customer. They find those things and train them how to turn a wrench. And maybe it's not going to be a master technician that you need right away, but you start doing that now, And in 5-6 years, you're never going to have a labor issue again.
Yeah, I love that. Tell us a little bit about Ryan, chapter of life, family, what you do outside of what you're doing. And then we'll ask you our final question we like to ask every guest. And then, of course, I'm sure people are going to want to pick up the book and learn a little bit more about, the core 50.
So, I was a second generation Phoenix, Arizona native. And for those of you that know people that live in Phoenix, they're like, I don't know any natives because everybody came from somewhere else. But I alluded to this earlier. I'm sure your listeners know your story with your dad. My story is very similar. My dad was in the trades as long as I can remember, and it was 6 days a week, 12 to 14-hour days. Heck, a lot of times 7 days a week. Like, it was crazy. He even got to the point where he wanted to get us out of Phoenix, so he moved us north, and he drove 81 miles to work one way every single day just to give his family something more. Like, it was crazy. But he could just scale the company. It was always dependent on him, and it wasn't because he was a horrible leader or a bad boss. Nobody ever taught him these principles. And that's what I see happen across the trades, is that no one's ever sat down and said, let me teach you the principles of attracting, hiring, and retaining great people. And so once I got out of college and spent my time in corporate, I realized that I just want to help people like my dad. And so I started the company, and I started helping contractors. We do work in construction, commercial service, anybody that has frontline employees, hourly employees. Like, that's my passion. That's where my heart is. People call me, they're like, I need a senior estimator. And I was like, here's a number to a recruiter. I don't get excited about that. I want to put this information in the hands of so many people. That's why I wrote the book. I knew there would be people that would never call me, never want to work with me. They're like, I'll just do it myself, or I don't have the money or the time. So that's why I did the book. And that's why we create so much content on our website. A little more personal. I married my high school sweetheart. Next year, we'll have been together 30 years and married for 21. 2 little kids at home, 8 and 11. It's one of the reasons that I do this too. I'm able to look at my kids and go, I want to spend more time with them. And I know there's a lot of young entrepreneurs out there like, I want to spend more time with my family. I'm like, you can do this when you build the right team and they trust you and everything else. So that's what drives me. There are 2 things I'll get up willingly before the sun gets up for, and that's fishing and golf. And that's about it. Other than that, I'm going to get up after the sun gets up. So that's a little bit about me. If you got any questions, we can dig in more. But for people that want to connect, an offer for your listeners as well. I'm really active on LinkedIn, lots of free content there. And then on the book. Now, if you're a listener and you want to listen to it, you can get it anywhere audiobooks are sold. You got to listen to me for 5.5 hours, but I read the book, you can get the audiobook. But if you want a free copy of the actual physical book, if you go to corematters.com, which is my website, corematters.com/free book. All you got to do is pay for shipping and handling. I'll autograph a copy and I'll mail you out a copy of the book.
Ryan, we ask every guest the same question before we part ways. And the question is, what does it mean to you to be better than rich?
To me, that's a why question, right? Like, why? To me, to be better than rich is I get to raise great kids that are, able to tackle the challenges of this world, who love Jesus. And, for me, I just want to be a part of that. I just want to prep for the next generation.
That's beautiful, brother. Thank you so much, Ryan, for being here. Can't thank you enough for the wisdom you shared. I appreciate the role play. Really excellent stuff. So thank you for your time, listener. Thank you for supporting the show. We are just continuing to bring experts your way that are serving the trades during season 4. For those of you guys that have been on the journey. Season 1, Andrew and I just riffed on things that were happening during COVID during 2020. Season 2, we started bringing on guests and started talking about what it means to be better than rich and how to do that. Season 3 was a lot about business systems and predictability. And now season 4 is specifically for the trades and blue collar folks. Keep tuning in. We have a lot of great guests coming up, especially through August. And as always, leave today better than you found it. And until next time on the Better Than Rich show, take care. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the show, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from us, you can follow us on Instagram at betterthan_rich and join our Facebook group at the Better Than Rich Show. Thanks again for listening. We look forward to seeing you next time. And remember, leave today better than you found it.